Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right to our clip 1B as the presidential tenor himself, Christopher Macchio, sang the national anthem just yesterday in Washington, D.C.
And now to honor America, America's tenor, Christopher Macchio, performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see? And bright stars through the perilous fight, on the rampart we watched, where so gallantly stood, and the ragged tiger, and bursting in, gave proof that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Our land never
All right, now we have to interrupt our coverage because the Treasury Department has its press conference now. Let's go there.
Good afternoon. Today, at President Trump's direction, the United States Treasury has begun Operation Economic Outcast, an unprecedented campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran and its enablers. In the Second World War, D-Day marked the historic beginning of a campaign with our allies to target and drive the enemy from its positions, including those in third countries. Today, in that same spirit, we are launching an economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe. Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Iran's fanatics devote themselves to death to America and seek nuclear weapons to do just that. They have murdered and maimed more of our citizens and service members than any other terrorist regime on earth. And they have been at war against America, their neighbors in the Gulf, and much of the world for 47 years. President Trump has taken action that his predecessors have long deferred. And under his leadership, America is no longer managing the Iranian threat. We are ending it. Our great armed forces have laid the groundwork for achieving the President's objective of preventing Iran from ever obtaining nuclear weapons. They have shown America's resolve to finally end this threat. And the strength of America's economy under President Trump allows us to wage this sustained financial operation alongside the might of our military. Iran now faces a very clear choice with only two paths before them: complete global isolation and a subsistence economy, or a path back to normalcy with an opportunity to rejoin the global economy. Today, we are launching Operation Economic Outcast to foreclose every other option available to the Iranian regime. Treasury has mapped every node, every facilitator, and every network that Iran has used to smuggle oil and evade sanctions. Beginning today, the actions of Treasury and other agencies will tighten the noose and block every potential source of revenue that funds the IRGC and the evil Iranian regime. We are enforcing a zero leakage approach. There will be no minimal breathing space for the regime to rebuild its capacity to inflict terror against America and the world. The final refuge of this regime is the mistaken conclusion of nations that still finance the Iranian threat in the hopes of evading it. It is no longer acceptable to operate in the gray spaces of this conflict. Countries cannot claim they are blind to enabling this activity. Iran's enablers purchase, transport its petroleum. They facilitate the flow of its finances through exchange houses and free trade zones. They welcome Iran's flights and maintain registries on its behalf. They turn a blind eye to seaborne fuel transfers and overland transits. They condone illicit use of their banks, all the while concealing the extent of their complicity. The president is making phone calls to world leaders with specific requests to cease their interactions with the regime. We are already seeing results. Over the weekend, comments from Iranian leadership clearly acknowledged the effect of this campaign, and nations that facilitate any interactions with the regime should quickly heed our message. Those who stand with the United States will reap the rewards of our partnership. Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation of a withering regime. Teams from Treasury, State, and the U.S. military are now meeting with their global counterparts to tell them that the United States expects action. Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities. For example, every branch of Bank Melay must be shuttered and dark. And let me be clear, any entity that facilitates money laundering on behalf of Iran will be removed from the US dollar system. The clock just started ticking. The new sectoral sanctions determinations issued today target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines that it exploits in other countries: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. These measures broaden secondary sanctions risk for anyone foolish enough to continue conducting business with this regime, and will accelerate the speed with which we pursue them. As I speak, Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is also sanctioning over 60 entities, individuals, and vessels around the world that enable the Iranian regime to procure illicit nuclear and missile technology, conduct cyber operations, and generate oil revenue. This is a sustained campaign to collapse every last option for Iran. Let there be no ambiguity as to the position of the United States. An economic engagement of any kind with this murderous regime will expose those responsible to the full reach of American power. For decades, this regime has drawn strength from a calculus that regards Iranian retaliation as certain and American enforcement as negotiable. Under President Trump, that era is over. To the ordinary soldiers supporting this regime, as more and more of your paychecks stop or are supposedly just delayed, ask whether your commanders are leading your country to triumph or to ruin. And recall that the Berlin Wall fell when ordinary soldiers decided not to shoot at their own people. And to those who enable Tehran, do not discount the cost of testing Washington's resolve. No nation should expect to enjoy the rewards of our system while helping those who seek to destroy it. It is now a time for world leaders to make a decision between prosperity and isolation, peace and terror, America and Iran. The campaign we begin today will gather force with every day that follows, and it will not end until this regime stands alone. With that, I welcome your questions. David from Reuters.
Hi, thanks, Secretary. One of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal is the ability to impose secondary sanctions on banks and financial institutions that facilitate transactions for Iran. Chinese banks have often been talked about being targeted, but we don't see any of those institutions targeted here. Is that something that is coming in this campaign, or is the very delicate trade truce with China something that could prohibit you from going that far and taking that very big step?
We want to make clear here today that no one is above the reach of U.S. sanctions, that if they facilitate transactions and are part of the ecosystem that turns Iranian oil into money, into repression, they will be targeted. We find that the best way to engage with countries is through quiet diplomacy, and we are level setting with every country to tell them our expectations. We know who they are, they know who they are, so when the hammer of U.S. Treasury actions falls upon them, they will have no one to blame but themselves. So, Richard from CBS.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You said the president is calling world leaders with specific asks and that there is a defined timeline. Who is he calling and what are the asks?
We're not going to name names, that we've already seen some results, and that I am confident the president, as you all know, is quite persuasive, and we are following his calls up with calls from visits and calls from the State Department and from the U.S. Treasury, expecting them, or telling the leaders, the countries, and the entities exactly what we expect and the timelines. And I would expect that very quickly, if they do not respond, then you will see the ramifications of their actions.
Can you say how far the timelines are?
Again, I'm not going to set timelines, but we do not have infinite patience here. Jennifer?
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary. Jennifer Schonberger with Yahoo Finance. You just said moments ago that no one is above U.S. sanctions. What specific secondary sanctions or penalties is Treasury prepared to levy against Chinese banks and shipping firms if they do not comply? And then secondly, as you look to take these unprecedented sanctions, you've also said that as the Iran conflict fades and oil prices recede, that will help bring down long-term bond yields. In the meantime, you have mentioned your toolkit, and I'm curious if you are looking at reducing auction sizes for longer-term dated Treasury debt going forward, and what other actions you may consider from that toolkit.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, why don't we work backwards? We issued the quarterly refunding announcement 2.5 weeks ago. We are going to continue with our regular program of auctions, so you will be hearing from us again at the beginning of next quarter. In terms of, as I said, every country, every entity should know that they should be prepared to face U.S. sanctions. And no one is above this. We are going to hold everyone accountable, and this is economic asphyxiation of this regime. And Jennifer, as I said, no one should test our resolve. So, Josh from New York Post.
You said you weren't going to name names, but there's been some reports that the United Arab Emirates is among some of the first nations to take seriously these words from the United States to cut off all business interactions with Iran. Is UAE leading the way in this respect?
I would think that the actions that they took last week were not coincident, but likely causal. And I would expect that we would see a broad array of countries taking similar actions as we continue our engagement. The UAE have been very good partners and have taken the brunt of the Iranian attacks in the Gulf. And what have these countries gotten over the years from appeasing Iran? They were subject to violent attacks. While we were bombing Iran, they were bombing them. So it shows that with this regime, appeasement does not work. And on the other side, with this regime, trying to buy appeasement will no longer work in the eyes of the United States of America. And I want to emphasize that we are spreading out across the world as we speak, that you will see a wave of sanctions when you leave this meeting today, and you should expect that cadence to continue. And I would expect that you will see a major announcement of a financial institution being sanctioned by the end of this week. So, Samira from Sky. Yep. No. No. Are you? No. I'm looking for Samira from Sky. No. Hi.
Does the United States and President Trump still want Canada to become a state? He did say that they're getting all the benefits of being a state without being one.
I think he would like Canada to come to the table and negotiate in good faith. They were offered quite a good deal last week. They chose to reject it. Unfortunately, Prime Minister Carney rose to power on an anti-American, anti-Trump platform. I believe he was more than 20 points behind, and he seems to have gone back to his old playbook. And I think one has to ask oneself, is he trying to benefit himself, the Liberal Party, or the Canadian people? Because they were offered a very good job. So, yep, you.
Thank you, Secretary Bessent. If I could shift to bond yields quickly. We saw them tick down today after some turbulence and going up last week. Can you tell us if there's any possibility that there will be more bond buybacks anytime soon?
Again, we haven't bought a single bond yet. The next time we have an operation is September 9th. So we will see on September 9th. All right. One more.
All right, that was Scott Bessent, of course, the Treasury Secretary, talking about the Iranian economic D-Day. So there's a lot of live news going on today, of course. The Vice President speaking in Maine earlier. Then, of course, the Treasury Secretary right there at 2:30. President Trump delivers a speech at the Rose Garden. At least there's an event going on coming up in just a little bit. Before we get to some sponsors, I was just interviewing Christopher Macchio, the presidential tenor who sang the national anthem just yesterday in Washington, D.C. So we'll be getting that interview geared up for you, no pun intended, for the Grand Prix. And we'll air that a little bit later. In the meantime, this is all brought to you by some great sponsors, including Birch Gold Group. Specifically, we're still a couple months out from the midterms, But make no mistake, if the house flips, it's a big deal for our economy. That uncertainty is one of the reasons to diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. In 3 months leading up to the 2024 presidential election, the spot price of gold actually jumped over 12%, all because it's a hedge against uncertainty. And if you don't own gold, I'd suggest talking with Birch Gold because they'll discuss your goals and explain how precious metals could fit into savings. Now, they can even help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA in gold with no additional money out of pocket. All you have to do to get everything started, just text Trump to that number you see on your screen, 989898. You get a free info kit and you get some solid information. The midterms will be here before you know it, so just text Trump to 989898. All right, so we're about 21 minutes after the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, a lot of live coverage today. We'll be going to Maine for a few of the clips from the vice president there, J.D. Vance. And then also, you may have just watched the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, who spoke about 20 minutes or so and took some questions there, talking about the Iranian economic D-Day. And then at 2:30, as you see on the bottom of your screen, President Trump to speak about, we'll see, question marks. We don't know yet. So we'll see what happens for that event at 2:30 Eastern. And we'll go over a few other items on the agenda, including some live interviews from now until then. Let's go to one more sponsor here on Right Side, including All Family Pharmacy. You know, we've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them. Because in my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all of that unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a curveball and your health suddenly becomes the priority, you want a pharmacy that's ready to help. From connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate, to fast shipping options, to knowledgeable support when you have options and questions, All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have this full catalog of more than 400 medications from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, all the medications you may want to have on hand. It's really the kind of company you hope you never need in an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out and find the medications you may need for your family. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and just give them a call, 561-717-6794 if you have any questions. RSBN 10 is the promo code. You get 10% off as well. Looking live there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue at 2:30, again, at the Rose Garden there at the White House, President Trump to hold an event. In the meantime, we have a few interviews coming up and some more news to get to. Let's take a quick commercial break. Let's press the reset button. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98. Queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
All right, so we know that in other news, we have the California Governor Gavin Newsom just signed the Stop Nick Shirley Act into law. Did you hear that headline? California Governor Gavin Newsom just signed the Stop Nick Shirley Act into law. So stop Nick Shirley from doing what, really? Exposing fraud? Using his First Amendment right under the Constitution? According to our reporting, Assembly Bill 2624, which Republicans have dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act, expands California's Safe at Home program to cover workers at nonprofits serving people navigating the immigration system. The law is scheduled to take effect October 1st, 2027. So there you go. Governor Newsom deciding, we don't like Nick Shirley, so we're going to stop him. Unbelievable stuff there. Before we get to our next live interview, I want to do something quickly. Why don't we go to, let's see, there's a number of clips that we have here. Why don't we take one more commercial break, actually. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay?
All right, so now we have our live interview set to go here. Joining us now is the president of the University of South Florida's GOP Club. Let's go to Wes Renaud joining us right now with the great American flag background as we see there. Wes, thanks so much for joining us.
I had to move settings just to get that in there.
Yeah, no, loud and clear.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely, man. So I guess classes just start today, right?
Yes. Just had first day of classes, and I won't lie to you, it seems like a pretty liberal agenda this semester.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of culture-ish type of classes, you know.
Yeah. So do you find yourself there at the University of South Florida as the president of the GOP Club there? Do you find yourself actually kind of in the camp, though, in the sense of, okay, so there's a lot of liberal stuff going on, but you're there to actually help students kind of say, hey, we know we need to learn about this, this, and this in life, but kind of omit the other stuff, and let's look at this other agenda. Is that kind of the inside baseball?
Well, yeah, so I'll just to kind of give like what like campus life is kind of like for conservative. I really liked what Ron DeSantis was trying to do with the anti-woke bill down here in Florida with, and he's mentioned in that with there's certain professors that will try to like indoctrinate their students on certain beliefs or ideologies, and the conservatives in classes are kind of pushed to the back, and like you feel like you don't want to speak up, and it's not easy whenever you're outnumbered as much as you are on these campuses. But our club's doing pretty good. We got a solid foundation going right now. We're going to be ramping up some events on campus here soon, and it couldn't come at a crazier year down here for Florida politics. We've had some really cool stuff to cover and be a part of. Cool invitations and opportunities for our club, and I'm really thankful for that. I will say.
Yeah, 100%. Would you say that, I mean, this is a very loose estimate, but at the University of South Florida, are there 20% conservatives, 80% liberal students, or is it the other way around?
I would say it's probably closer to more towards like 15-10. Like it is extremely the other, because a lot of conservatives, they'll just conceal it and say like more or less like I'm apolitical, or I don't really have an opinion on that, just to kind of not want to go against the grain. So there's a lot of people that would be more conservative minded that are staying and hiding a little bit. But yeah, it's extremely lopsided, that's for sure.
Okay. How old are you, Wes?
I'm kind of an older college student. I'm 25. Like I had to take a little bit of a break while I was living up in Illinois during the pandemic, and they weren't handling it too well. And I wasn't confident in the fact that the prices of tuition weren't dropping, and it was all online, and you had to like kind of teach yourself, and you had vaccines and mask mandates kind of thrown on like the students. So I took a step back, did a lot of soul searching, worked on my faith a lot, and then got back into a better major. Knew I wanted to be going down to school down here in Florida, especially with how great I believe that DeSantis was during COVID. I mean, it was like a whole different world down here when I would come to visit my other side of my family down here, and I knew this is where I wanted to be.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a number of people out there saying they want to kind of go from the north to the south for various reasons, but there's a lot of great patriots all across our country, as you know. Finally, what is it like to be in a school where there's that many people that are just hiding their faith or hiding their conservatism? I mean, what would you say to students? Maybe, I don't care if there's one student watching this live or on replay on X somewhere, right? What would you say to that student to say, you know what, this is why we need to speak up some more?
It's a pivotal time, and I think that there's a spiritual revival going on, especially within certain circles that I've been a part of, and I really would encourage those type of people to, if you're outside of college or university, get into your local YR chapters, Young Republicans. I mean, that's anywhere from 18 to 40, so you'll meet a lot more like-minded individuals. We can help each other out a lot and figure out how we become more effective, because I'm looking at where this DSA stuff is kind of infiltrating our country a little bit here at the Democratic Socialists. This is a time where if you do have conservative values, you do want to see a more or less like Christian values be promoted, like get involved. And ever since just the last year, we've had a lot of people enlist in the chapter. And I mean, a lot of it was Turning Point. A lot of it was college Republicans, and that's a really good thing. I would love to see that continue.
Awesome.
We need people getting involved.
And what did it take on your resume to get to become the leader of the University of South Florida's GOP club?
Well, so I got close with the former president. Him and I couldn't be any more like-minded. Michael Fusella, was awesome, helped get me all integrated and everything. And whenever we first met about a year ago, he was like, this feels God sent in a way. Like I was really looking for somebody that would be my heir apparent and would be able to carry on the same wins that we had down here. Cause there's a lot of opportunity in Tampa. I mean, a lot of people, from all different walks of life. And it is one of the biggest universities down here in Florida. So I was very fortunate to meet him, hit it off. We got really close working on James Fishback's campaign. And that's, I think, the direction that a lot of young conservatives are going, is more of like that type of conservatism, which is, up for interpretation, how people feel about that. But it was making connections, getting myself out there. And I think being a good orator kind of got me there, just, because a lot of people are like, I would like to lead, but not through talking and being a face of something. And I'm very fortunate that I get to spend my senior year as president of the GOP here at USF.
That's awesome, man. It sounds like you have a political future, maybe as running for Congress.
I hope so. God willing, I'll leave that to him.
Amen. Wes Renaud, thanks so much for joining us here from Florida.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you later. Thanks, man. Cool stuff there with a college student at USF. He was actually somebody that was scheduled to join our broadcast last week, but couldn't because he was at a GOP event when it was the Florida primary election. Anyway, it's a little bit of context there. If you're just joining us now, busy news day. Let's get to some of our sponsors first. We'll get into that in a second. Kalshi.com/RSBN, of course, the promo code that is going to be on the next sponsor. You can just check out the QR code right there with Kalshi, or go to Kalshi.com/RSBN, or download the app if you'd like. You have 3 ways to get to Kalshi. A lot of great political trending topics on there as well. You might have heard President Trump getting asked about who will be the next White House press secretary. Well, that is one of the things that people are really putting money on the line for, just checking out polls on Kalshi. Of course, we're going to go to that clip where Carolyn was called up to the stage last week on Friday, and also, of course, go back and hear from President Trump, it was cranked to 10, the president's speech there. So we're going to go back to some of that here as we continue to monitor the news cycle. But anyway, one of the great sponsors here on Right Side, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Let's go to Cove Pure as well. Most of us know there's chlorine in our tap water. We sometimes can smell it. We shrug. We drink it anyway because we were told. Sometimes we trust what we're told. We were told it's what keeps our water safe. But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure. Chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem because chlorine levels in your water are regulated, but what's not regulated are chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from rivers, soil, and plant matter. So when chlorine interacts with those particles, we're told it creates chemical byproducts called THMs. The government itself calls THMs probable human carcinogens. They've been linked to disruption of your gut. They've also been linked to cancer. So those pitcher filters you get at the store, they just won't fix this because they can improve the taste of chlorine by masking it, but THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their ClearWave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So really, it's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. Really, if it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And this thing doesn't take up much room at all. Just look at it on screen. You just put it on your kitchen counter, just plug it in. No need to call someone in to install it. And with a tap of a button, you get hot, cold, or warm water instantly. And finally, the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. People have told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. And right now, they're giving RSBN viewers $250 off if you use our link. Go to covepure.com/RSBN. Right now, that's covepure.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here on Right Side as it's 1:37 Eastern Time here on the network. Thanks again for joining us. Looking live at the White House on this Monday, August 24th. All right, so we have some more live interviews coming up, of course. But before we get to all of that, let's go to President Trump, specifically on Truth Social. He said, quote, about Iran's economic D-Day some time ago, "No one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran a greater opportunity to make a deal than me. Tragically for them, they have failed to take it. Therefore, today, I am announcing the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be the economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. Their navy is gone, their air force is destroyed, their military factories are now rubble, their currency is worthless, and their country is hanging by a thread." The president speaking some time back saying, quote, "Today I am also announcing that any country that allows its financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences. Oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, ship registries, front companies, it all needs to stop now. You know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day. And we need all of our allies to stand with the United States of America to isolate and defeat the Iran threat. These maniacs are on the ropes, and these historic measures will cripple them and their ability to project terror worldwide. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." So that was a message, of course. I know it's a lot of words there, but it definitely gets it out, the information about that economic D-Day. And that was what that press conference, if you missed it, you'll have to replay some of that as Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, broke down some of the specifics of the economic D-Day. Let's stick with the Trump on Truth segment, talking about Canada. Let's go to clip 5. Canada has been ripping off the United States of America for years. Their ridiculously high tariffs on our farmers and farm products has made life impossible for these great American patriots and has long created a $60 billion deficit between our two countries. Not sustainable and not anymore. On January 1st, 2027, tariffs on all cars, trucks, both large and small, automotive parts and steel, will be increased to 50%. Built in the U.S., and there are zero tariffs. Canada will be treated like a state no longer. On trade and in other ways also, they are among the worst nations in the world to deal with. They feel entitled, and yet we don't need Canada. They need us. They do 95% of their business with the United States. With us, it's the exact opposite. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Meantime, earlier today, the Vice President speaking in Maine. Of course, we'll be seeing President Trump here in just a little bit at the Rose Garden, but let's go to Maine for some highlights from his speech. Let's go to clip number 6.
You think about it, in just 18 months, we have seen an industrial renaissance all across the United States of America. Nationwide, all across our country, factory construction employment has exploded. 83,000 new jobs in factory construction just since Donald Trump came back into the White House. Trillions of dollars, trillions, are pouring into our country to support new facilities, new jobs, and of course, new workers and to train workers in the new jobs of the future. And as companies start building, orders for new factory machinery and other capital goods are breaking records. We're seeing the very foundation laid for a manufacturing renaissance all across this country. Did you know demand for metal cutting and machine tools has hit its highest level in almost 40 years in the United States of America? And all that construction, my friends, it's supporting, as Kelly said, an America First manufacturing boom, with last month's activity in the manufacturing sector reaching its highest level in years. We've created, in just 18 months, 29,000 new manufacturing jobs, and we've reversed years of wage decline where people were getting poorer. Now, finally, we're seeing wages up 4.2% just over the last year. And who are the beneficiaries? The workers at companies like Computech are reaping the benefits. Now, you don't have taxes on overtime. If you work a little bit harder, the federal government ought to keep its hand out of your pocket, and it is, thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut. It's not just a 2-year or even a 4-year process. Think about this. This country was plundered over a generation. Our goal is to reverse a consensus that has screwed over communities like this one for decades. I gotta be honest, it was Republicans and Democrats that did it together. For 40 years, places like Brewer have been told that it doesn't matter. That it doesn't matter if we make things here in Maine or 5,000 miles away with foreign workers. Think about this. The people who are running our country, the people who are supposed to be devoted and dedicated to this community, they said that we were stupid or stuck in the past if we wanted good manufacturing jobs right here in communities like Brewer. What we really needed, they told us, was just to juice the short-term profits of a few big corporations. We needed to open that border and prioritize foreign workers over our own citizens. They would cheer on the corporate raiders as they slashed headcount and shifted all those businesses either to foreign countries or brought in illegal aliens to employ. And as our politicians and some of those corporate cronies got rich, who bore the cost? We know it was us. You bore the cost. We bore the cost. Communities like mine in Middletown, Ohio, and communities like this one in Brewer, Maine. Men and women who built their lives around a factory or around the community that existed and was supported by that factory, they were left powerless. And they were left destitute when decisions by far-off politicians made this community poorer so that a few people could earn a few quick bucks. And it wasn't just the businesses, my friend, it was the politicians. But just as it was a policy choice by people in Washington to let that happen to you and to your community, in 2024, Brewer made a new choice to reverse 40 years of American decline and send Donald J. Trump back to the White House. You hear people talk about growth and the importance of growth. Why do we talk about those things? Because we want good jobs. We want dignity. We want the dignity of knowing that if you work hard and you build something, if you play by the rules, your country is going to have your back for a change. And work naturally, that's the only thing that is actually going to give people that real dignity. A welfare check is never going to replace a job. And we've got a choice in November. Do we want a party that provides good jobs or a party that provides a lot of welfare checks? I vote for good jobs. How about you?
All right, so the vice president in Maine earlier today, and if you missed Scott Bessent's press conference, that happened a bit earlier as well here on the network. So you can check that out if you'd like to replay after we watch the president together at about 2:30 Eastern time. In case you missed it, Christopher Macchio joined us, the presidential tenor. So what we're going to do is we're going to replay some of the national anthem, actually the whole anthem, and we'll go right into that interview in just a second as we have some more interviews coming up. But let's go to All Family Pharmacy first. You know, we've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them because, in my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom. They work to make trusted medications easier to access without all of the unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a curveball, well, you can hit a home run with these guys because when your health suddenly becomes that priority, you really want a pharmacy that's ready to help, from connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate to fast shipping options to knowledgeable support when you have questions. All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. And they have a full catalog of more than 400 medications from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, the list goes on, GLP-1 options, peptides, all the medications you may want to have on hand. It's really the kind of company you hope you never need in an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out, find the medications you may need for your family. Just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, and you can call them at 561-717-6794, 561-717-6794. You know, we're still a couple months out, of course, but the midterms are fast approaching, and make no mistake, if the House flips, it's a big deal for our economy, and that uncertainty is one of the reasons to diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group, because in the 3 months leading up to the 2024 presidential election, the spot price of gold jumped over 12%, all because it's a hedge against uncertainty. And if you don't own gold, I would suggest talking with Birch Gold. They'll discuss your goals and explain how precious metals can fit into your savings. So they can even help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA in gold with no additional money out of pocket. Just text Trump to the number 989898. Get a free info kit and get some solid information as well. The midterms, of course, will be here before you know it. Text Trump to 989898. And speaking of the midterms, we're talking November 3rd, and that's about 70 days from today. So it's around the corner-ish. Speaking of around the corner, yesterday, the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. What a race that was going on the streets of Washington, D.C. Let's check this out in case you missed it. We're going to do a couple things here, and then we'll have some more live interviews coming up. Let's go back to the presidential tenor, Christopher Macchio, performing the national anthem yesterday, followed by a couple of videos. And I want you to pay attention, too, if you get a chance, Air Force One and a couple fighter jets. This picture that the U.S. Air Force has out there that we have here, too, is pretty awesome. So let's check that out. And then after that will be the interview with Christopher Macchio. We'll be right back.
And now to honor America, America's tenor, Christopher Macchio, performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose good stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight on the rampart we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the ragged dragon
Joining us now is the presidential tenor himself, Christopher Macchio. Thanks again for joining us here on RSBN.
It's my pleasure to be here.
It's great to see you on that national stage once again. What was that like at the Grand Prix in D.C.?
Well, it was once again a surreal moment that could only have been engineered by President Donald J. Trump. To have a race like that in our nation's capital, going past all the monuments and government buildings, really is just a testament to American ingenuity and greatness and patriotism. And I was really honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was great to see that performance. We played it at the top of our broadcasts today. And, you know, it's one of those things. It was a sporting event. It's the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. Did you get a chance to meet any of the drivers? And what was it like seeing those vehicles travel so fast on those streets out there?
Well, I actually got a chance to meet Connor Daly, who is actually a student of my father's. My family actually has a racing pedigree. I was trained to race. I never competed, but I drove in the same types of cars at a lower level as the Indy cars that were going through the streets of DC yesterday. So I've got the speeding tickets to prove it, Matt. It's so it was really great to have my dad, who was really one of the preeminent instructors in the country, Dennis Macchio, on hand to kind of add some insights, racing insights for the people that were in our group. And so it was really cool. Oh, and of course, I'd be remiss. I had a wonderful meeting with Mario Andretti, the legendary Mario Andretti. Everybody was saying, well, they're not sure who's more famous, President Trump or Mario Andretti. You know, I don't know. In the racing world, maybe it's Mario, and maybe President Trump almost everywhere else. But two real legends, and I'm just very privileged to have a wonderful rapport with both of them.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yesterday, there are different events that we've seen you perform the national anthem. I mean, from the White House to the return to Butler to all over the place, right? I mean, we performed down in Mar-a-Lago. Yesterday on a Sunday, it's beautiful out. There must have been no nerves at all. You must have been like, I got this again. Let's go.
Yeah, you know what? The only thing that I was focused on was they told me, we need you to stretch the high notes until the flight package makes it across the start-finish line. So I'm doing the national anthem. Everything's going great. And I looked over to my left, and the planes were taking a while to get to where they needed to be. So I really had to stretch out the national anthem. It's normally 90 seconds, Matt. I clocked in at 2 minutes and 4 seconds for that national anthem to make sure that we timed it just right. So I think, in all humility, I was the perfect guy for the job because, I've got the lungs for it. If I need to stretch out some notes, I can do it.
Yeah, well, you did it yesterday. That's some awesome inside baseball stuff. And what a like on the fly, no pun intended, but you're live. It's in front of a national audience. It's this never happened before race. You've got these massive jets approaching, and it's just you and the jets. What's that like to perform under that pressure?
Oh my God. Honestly, it's just, it was a privilege because, I've already been through the worst of it. Okay. I woke up on Inauguration Day praying to God that I had a voice left because I had done so many news hits, so many performances leading up to the inauguration. By God's grace, I got through it and everybody was really happy. After that, though, I got this. They put me up to bat. I told the president, I said, look, I'll hit a grand slam for you every time. You just have to load the bases and put me up to bat, and I'll hit it out of the park every single time. And that's why he puts me where he puts me. He trusts me to get the job done. So I knew that, I was going to get the job done. But it was a real blessing to have that opportunity in the first place. And to see those, billions of dollars worth of planes flying overhead, was just, remind you of how lucky all of us are to be, citizens of the greatest nation that the world has ever seen.
It's so true. You're explaining a moment when everyone's there, either watching on TV or in the stands, and it's that goosebump moment, right? As a performer, when that's happening and you're performing it and you're part of creating that moment, are you able to experience the moment yourself?
I think so, especially that I've had enough accumulated experiences over time. It makes it a little easier to just take a deep breath and take it all in. I really reflected from the stage on the 4th of July, for example. I mean, it was so surreal, and we pulled together that performance at the very last minute. I was going to do one song, and right after Leonard Skinner did an 8-minute Freebird, and it all got canceled, and they needed me to become the entire show, basically, and then of course Lee bringing out the president, and we did it. Literally, we had 5 minutes to pull it all together, and so we were able to do it, and it's. But I even amidst all that chaos, I made it a point to take a moment, take a deep breath, and say, this is truly a great moment in history. And it's been created and crafted by none other than President Donald J. Trump. And I am just privileged to be a part of this.
That's perfectly said. It's awesome that you take that moment to just kind of breathe in the whole situation there. And it almost seems like you're more comfortable in those high pressure situations than you are just walking the streets of New York City. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. You know what it is? Because when you're walking the streets, it's like you're just one of 8 million people, going through Manhattan. But in those moments, you are really reminded in a very powerful, visceral way of what your true purpose in this life really is. And when you're in the midst of being in the zone and serving that purpose, I think that's when you feel most alive.
That is the truth. I can't say it better than that. That's perfect. Christopher Macchio, the presidential tenor, thanks again for your time, your friendship to the network, and we look forward to seeing what's next for the next performance by Christopher Macchio.
Well, RNC coming up in a few weeks, right after I get back from singing in Florence, Italy for Italian television. It's going to be great. Stay tuned. RNC midterms.
Looking forward to it. September 9th and 10th. Christopher Macchio, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. And speaking of the RNC, our next guest is with the RNC. Before we get to Ali Triolo, let's go to a couple sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to the following. You're about to see the website pop up, kidsfightsocialism.com. As President Trump speaks about the future of this country, Democratic socialists are winning some primaries out there. They're gaining some political influence heading into the 2026 midterms. And parents, you can really prepare your kids by ordering a free copy of the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism from the same company that gave you the Kids Guide to President Trump. This important guide explains the differences between capitalism and socialism's big brother, communism, in a way kids can actually understand. So you can order your free copy right now at kidsfightsocialism.com. Again, it's kidsfightsocialism.com. You can go order now before they run out, as there is just that $2 shipping and handling, but great sponsor there, and great to have that kind of content for our younger generation, because we know what it can be like in various educational systems out there with brainwashing, saying, oh, socialism's cool and communism's this, and ridiculous stuff. But great sponsor there on Right Side. Let's go to our next great sponsor, mypillow.com/RSBN. A lot of great products there, a lot of quality products as well. And if you use the RSBN promo code, you get a great discount. So you have quality products. You're buying from a great conservative company, from a man who has gone through a number of things back in the day and overcame all of that to be a successful businessman and moving on when it comes to all these different companies he has. So anyway, mypillow.com/RSBN, peruse the site, check it out. There may be something you'd like there on mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, it is 2:01. So 1 minute after the hour here on Right Side. You see that live picture at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Joining us now is RNC Election Integrity Communications Director, Ali Triolo. Thanks again for joining us, Ali.
Thanks for having me this afternoon.
Definitely. It seems like the November midterm ballot is crystal clear. It's the leftist, progressive, socialist policies versus freedom, common sense, and our Constitution. Is that not it?
You're exactly right, Matt. Listen, the Republican Party is the party of normalcy. We want lower taxes. We want a secure border, and we want America to remain the best place on earth. Democrats wanting to open the floodgates to illegal immigrants, to have sky-high taxes, to have socialist grocery stores, to have elections that aren't secure. This is not what is going to keep America great. And now more than ever, we need to make sure that our voters turn out to make sure we keep the majority this fall.
That's perfectly said, because we see that people are listening and they understand the situation that we're facing. So outside of voting, outside of praying and voting, is there more that people can do? If they want to get involved with maybe the RNC election integrity group, I mean, what else is there out there for them to do?
The good news is the RNC has not let its foot off the gas leading up to the midterms. So far, we have built the largest ground game in party history. What this means is at this point in this cycle, we have more volunteers than ever before, even more than in 2024. These are hardworking patriots like you and I who have signed up to help the RNC defend the ballot box, whether that is serving as a poll worker, an election day observer. There are so many ways to get involved, and all we need is people to go to protectthevote.com. They can sign up, put in their information, and we will be in touch with them on ways they can help join the Republican Party in the fight to defend the ballot box.
And finally, Ali, your thoughts about the September 9th and 10th huge midterm national convention hosted by the RNC, of course, and President Trump.
This is going to be a blockbuster, historic event, putting our Republican Party values on full display. Look, as we watch the Democrat infighting between the socialists and the traditional Democrats play out across the media, the Republicans are coming together in unity to celebrate the wins of the past 2 years. Again, lowest tax cuts in American history, a secure border, economic investment in our nation. These are major wins, and we are looking forward to celebrating them with the American people in just a few weeks.
Looking forward to that coverage right here on RSBN. This is the RNC Election Integrity Comms Director, Ali Triolo. Thanks for what you're doing for the country. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you. Awesome stuff there. It's great to see people just, again, we're on the right side of history, putting out the messaging, putting out the information that, you won't really see on the left wing. You won't see in the mainstream media. And really, this is about getting that momentum kicked up to a next level, and it'll be great to see that RNC midterm national convention. Of course, you'll be able to watch something like that here on RSBN as we are live right now getting ready to see President Trump. He'll have that event coming up at 2:30. Looking forward to it at the bottom of the hour. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. We'll be right back.
It's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome back. Thanks again for live streaming as we get ready to see the Commander-in-Chief, the leader of the free world, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And good afternoon once again. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. And, you know, it's a busy news day across the political spectrum. As for today's news events, so far we've already seen the Vice President deliver a speech in Maine. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent delivered a speech about President Trump's economic D-Day for Iran. And speaking of the president, he's hosting that event at the White House Rose Garden at 2:30 Eastern Time. While we await the president, we may go back to some of that Scott Bessent press conference. But what we have also on Friday, in case you missed it, you know, the president held that rally in South Carolina. Here are a couple of the clips from the speech and also when the crowd called Carolyn Levitt up to the podium, clip number 3.
But look at the rallies. Look at what we have today. You have thousands of people standing outside, can't get in. They're standing outside, and we're not even really running. But we are running because we have to get Darlene and other people elected. So we are running. And the problem that we have is they say that Trump does great when he's on the ballot, but when he's not on the ballot, his people don't come and they don't vote for senators, congressmen, and other Republicans. And that these people, they're running, they're great. But if Trump isn't actually on the ballot. So what I really want you to do is pretend, please, that I'm on the ballot. Just come and vote. It's so important. So just say that I'm on the ballot. And one more time, you got to say it, and you got to come out and vote. Because if we lose, you're going to lose your border. You're going to lose your tax cuts. You're going to lose everything that we've done. We've gotten the biggest tax cuts in history. Think about no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security for our seniors, no tax on overtime. All of that's going to be gone. Your taxes are going to go up. Your pay is going to go down. Your jobs are going to be lost. They're going to end up closing up. Your businesses are going to flee just like they did years ago. They're going to flee our country. I'm going to be impeached. They're going to impeach me. They have no idea why. I saw today a congressman said on one of the shows, we're going to impeach President Trump. We're going to impeach him. Oh, really? Why? The person was asking. A neutral commentator for a change. I like neutral commentators. Oh, I see. You're going to impeach him. Why? Well, I don't know. I don't know. That's all right. That person's going home to mom, going to get scolded because mom is voting for us. You know, mom is voting. But I said, you're going to lose all of your tax breaks. You're going to lose everything. So you have to get out of vote. No, they're going to do it. They're going to impeach. But did you see it this morning? This congressman, it's a big story. He's on, we're going to impeach President Trump. Why are you going to impeach him? The commentator, why are you going to impeach him? What has he done wrong? I don't know. I don't know. We're working on it. We're looking at different things. The guy had no idea. It's a disgusting thing. So you're going to lose everything. I'm going to have to go through impeachment. These are lunatics. These are people that are vicious, violent, that weaponize the justice system, the Justice Department, and they want to destroy our country. They want to see that our country fail. They want our country to fail, and we can't let that happen. You have to get out and vote in the midterms. One other thing, and you know, they know Darlene because Lindsey was so prominent. He was so amazing. But they know how great she is, and they want Darlene to lose and the election, and they want really, I hate to tell you this, Darlene, they want Darlene to lose because of me. If I would support somebody else, in fact, Darlene, I'll do that if you'd like me to. Because, you know, when I fought for the wall, we ended up building 1,200 miles of wall. I used to say, we will build a wall. You remember, I would come down here, we will build the wall. The wall has been, and we built the wall. We built a lot of wall. We built the whole thing. But I said, we will build the wall. It took me 2 years, a little bit slow sometimes. If I would have said, we will not build the wall, they would have given me all the money I want. So, Darlene, I'll say, I do not want Darlene to win. No, they don't want her to win because they know how good. And they think that it hurts MAGA. It hurts. And MAGA is, if you look at the Republican Party is MAGA. It's like, you know, I watched another commentator say the Republican Party is only 70% MAGA. Let me tell you, the Republican Party, I think, the real Republican Party is 100% Make America Great Again. But they're only fighting, Darlene, because they want me to lose, which isn't fair. But I'm doing this to honor Lindsey. I'm doing this to honor Lindsey. That's why I'm here. I don't have to be here on a Friday. I don't have to be here. Although I must say I love it. And now that I am here, we got plenty of time to talk, right? We got plenty of time. So, Darlene, we got to win that race. And we appreciate that you're doing it. I asked her to do it. She didn't. She was very happy. Henry appointed her because she was a perfect appointment to serve out the term. And I said, Henry, she should really run. She's fantastic. We all know it. And I said, Darlene, I called her. I said, Darlene, I'd love to see you run beyond the 5 months that you're serving. And you've already made an impact in the Senate. You know that. Everybody respects you. Everybody listens to you. So I asked her to run. And, oh, bring her up. They're all, come on, Caroline. Bring her up. Come on, Caroline.
Hello, South Carolina. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. President. You didn't need to bring me up on stage, though I do love a good podium. And I just want to say, President Trump, you are the most consequential and historic president in the history of our great country. And it has been the honor of my life to serve as your White House press secretary, sir. It really has. And I just want to let everyone in this room know how hard this man works for all of you and for every American across the country. Regardless of whether they're a Republican or a Democrat, you call this man at 6 in the morning, you call him at 3 in the morning, he picks up the phone because he's looking out for you. And he needs your help with a Republican Congress for the next 2 years so he can make our country greater and stronger and wealthier than ever before. So get out and vote. Thank you.
So there you go. President Trump and Carolyn Leavitt really making it clear what's coming up on November 3rd when it comes to that vote. So we obviously have to get out the vote, as they say, and make sure friends and family get involved and everybody that's registered, of course, and go out there and vote coming up in about 70 days or so for the Republican midterm convention, of course, it's going to happen in September. That'll also add to some more kind of like, hey, because a lot of times what I think is maybe there's a certain percentage of Americans that are, they have a lot of other things going on. And politics is kind of like, hey, we're glad President Trump's in office. I'm living my life, doing my thing. But this whole midterm thing, you got to talk to your friends and family about, really put it on their radar so we can see a victory on November 3rd. All right, before we get to our next live interview, and before we go to President Trump as well, as we're standing by for that event at the White House, let's go to All Family Pharmacy, because we've been talking about All Family Pharmacy a lot, because there's a reason that we keep returning to them. In my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country because they believe Americans should have more freedom and more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all of that unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a bit of a curveball and your health suddenly becomes the priority, you really want a pharmacy that's ready to help, from connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate, to fast shipping options, to knowledgeable support when you have questions. All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have a full catalog of more than 400 medications, from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, the list goes on. It's really the kind of company you hope you never need in an emergency, but you're really glad it's there if you do. You can check them out, find the medications you may need for your family. Just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use the RSBN 10 promo code, get 10% off. Also, if you had any questions at all, give them a call at 561-717-6794. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. RSBN 10 is the promo code. Let's go to Birch Gold Group. We're still a couple months out, speaking of the midterms, and as they fastly approach, make no mistake, if the House does flip, it's a big deal for our economy. And that kind of uncertainty is one of the reasons to diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group, because in the 3 months leading up to the 2024 presidential election, the spot price of gold jumped over 12%, all because it's a hedge against uncertainty. So if you don't own gold, I would suggest talking to Birch Gold, because they'll discuss your goals and explain how precious metals can actually fit into your savings. They could even help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a IRA in gold with no additional money out of pocket. So just text Trump to that number, 989898. You'll get a free info kit and some solid information, as the midterms will be here before you know it. Text Trump to 989898. Two of our great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All of them obviously great to have them with us. And those of you that like to donate to Right Side, thank you so much for doing so. As we are live looking at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. When we started our broadcast about an hour ago, it was a bit cloudy, and it looks like it has broken up a little bit, those clouds, and the sun shining through, which is kind of perfect timing, because in about 11 minutes or so, there's an event at the Rose Garden outside there at the White House. President Trump holding that event, and I haven't heard yet what this event is about. So we'll see what it's all about coming up at 2:30, and maybe the president will take some questions. But usually at a Rose Garden event, that's not always the case. But we'll see what happens, as we're seeing the beautiful Old Glory right there as well. Isn't it beautiful to see the red, white, and blue on the north lawn of the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Beautiful wide shot there too. All right, so let's go to Will Fry. He's the founder and CEO of American Operator. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Matthew.
Yeah, definitely, man. Tell us about American Operator. What is this all about?
Yeah, so we're tackling the succession crisis playing out on Main Street all across America, where you had this whole generation of owners who achieved the American dream. They built something of value. They provided for their family. They provided for their communities. They're now hitting retirement, and kids just aren't taking over these small businesses at the rate they used to. Back in the 90s, it was around 30% of small businesses the kids would take over. That number is now 3%. And so the question becomes, what happens to these small businesses? I don't want to live in a world where they shut down and there's massive job loss. I also don't want to live in a world where they're all bought up by private equity and Wall Street firms and that wealth is taken out of the community. So what we do is we come in, we partner with these owners, and we buy their business from them. But what's different about us is that we partner with a local individual. We give them a 10% stake at close and then a path to becoming the majority owner and having full control over the business. And so, we want a world where the next generation can achieve the American dream and that, hard work still matters in this country. And a lot of the folks that we work with agree with us there. And so that's what we're all about.
Is this mainly for small town USA, medium-sized cities, or is this the whole thing, large cities as well? If there's a mom and pop shop that's shutting down on the corner, is that something that is your target audience?
Yes, we'll work anywhere in continental U.S. I think where we, find ourselves is in flyover country. Oftentimes, small towns. This is the areas where there aren't that many other folks who could credibly actually buy your business. And so to kind of give you an example, a couple of weeks ago, I was in central Pennsylvania, a town called Montandon. It's about 900 folks. The owner there had started a peanut processing business. Actually, his father had in the 50s. He was the second generation running it. He had, done everything that he wanted to do with the business. He built a beautiful life for him and his family. His kids went off to Ivy League institutions. They're all, chasing their dreams in big cities. And so when it came time to retire, there wasn't anyone in the family that was interested or willing to take over the business. We came in and partnered with him. His name's Carl. We backed his actually number two. He'd been working there since 2008 to become the new owner under us. And the really cool thing is it's a town of 900 folks. It's the number one employer. And so we're able to preserve around 40 jobs in the community, make sure that food's still getting put on the table, while also giving Chris, the operator we backed, a path to becoming a millionaire on Main Street.
So you're really helping the Small Business Administration in a way, right? Is that, can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, we are. We share missions, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know Kelly a lot over the past year and a half and helping out with some stuff behind the scenes there. The Small Business Administration, for folks who aren't familiar, it is incredible. It is the only, federal program in the world that operates as zero subsidy to the U.S. taxpayer or to any taxpayer. They put last year $100 billion to work promoting local business through their 7A program, the SBIC program, their disaster relief. And under the current administration, they've done a really great job of actually tightening up the hatches to make sure that it stays zero subsidy. Under the previous administration, let's just say there were some interesting decisions made where things maybe weren't run correctly. We were giving out loans to anyone who raised their hand, a lot of folks who actually weren't even U.S. citizens. Kelly's come in, modernized the program. She actually pushed a majority of the employees out of D.C. to Main Street and said, no, you're not sitting here in D.C. and working. You got to go out and be with the customer. And so, I cannot sing their praises enough.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's Kelly Loeffler doing a great job there at the SBA. And then everyone, this is Will Fry. He's the founder and CEO of American Operator. Okay, so when did you start the business? How did you get involved in wanting to assist with small businesses out there?
Yeah, so it actually kind of takes me back home. So I'm from Eastern North Carolina, a town called Greenville. Back there, you either work for East Carolina University or you work at a small business, and there's not too much in between. About 6-7 years ago, a bunch of our family friends are going through retirement. Their kids had moved to Raleigh, Wilmington, Charlotte. They weren't in Greenville anymore. And I had a career in finance up in New York and started getting a couple calls. And long story short, I knew that there had to be a way to make sure these businesses are preserved. They were the signs on the back of the Little League field. They were sponsoring the Veterans Day Parade. When a hurricane rolls through Eastern North Carolina, they're there before FEMA. It's the roofing contractor. It's the electrical contractor helping out a neighbor. And so that kind of opened my eyes to the problem. Then it was like, okay, well, how can you build a solution that's good for the country, that's good for these owners, and it makes us money along the way? We want to make sure our incentives are aligned. And so we actually partnered with Joe Lonsdale, who's an outspoken investor and company builder here in Austin, Texas, to come up with this structure that we call Operate to Own.
That's awesome stuff. Speaking of Texas, coming up soon in October, is this Texas Youth Summit. Not sure if you've heard of it, but some great speakers there. It sounds like something that would be great if you were to attend something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we get involved a lot on the state level. Joe runs a think tank called Cicero Institute that's, they've taken on the kind of homeless industrial complex. They're taking on a lot of the regulatory issues that we have here. So we try to go out there and meet like-minded people because at the end of the day, it takes a village. And there are around 6 million small businesses. Around 3.5 of them are owned by retiring owners. And so this is a huge problem facing our country. And if we want to have, secure supply chain, job creation, local economies be wealthy, we need a bunch of people working together.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, I've heard it said before that the backbone of America's economy, of course, are small businesses. Final word, Will.
Yeah, I mean, they created 2 out of every 3 jobs the past 25 years. So we need to make sure that engine continues on for the decades to come. And, if you have a small business or you know of a small business owner where we could be a partner with, we'd be honored to partner with them. And otherwise, we appreciate everyone rooting for us.
Awesome stuff. Will Fry, the founder and CEO of American Operator. Be great to have you back on the broadcast, share more success stories in the future as well.
For sure. Thanks for having me,
Will.
Matthew.
Definitely, man. Good stuff there. Will Fry, doing some great work for the country. And he mentioned Kelly Loeffler, of course, the Small Business Small Business Administration, doing a great job as well. And they're working a little bit hand in hand as well. So great to see that for our economy. Speaking of business, let's go to one of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, kidsfightingsocialism.com. As President Trump at these various events speaks about the future of this country, especially coming up to the midterms, Democratic Socialists, they're winning some of the primaries out there. They're gaining some political influence heading into the 2026 midterms. And parents, you can really prepare your kids by ordering a free copy of the Kids Guide to Fighting Socialism from the same company that gave you the Kids Guide to President Trump. This important guide explains the difference between capitalism and socialism, and also socialism's big brother, communism, in a way kids can actually understand. So you can order your free copy right now. It's at kidsfightingsocialism.com. Again, kidsfightingsocialism.com. Go check it out before they run out, which they do over there at the Free Kids Guide. So kidsfightingsocialism.com. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side as we get ready to see President Trump. Actually, if you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do, rsbnetwork.com/donate, rsbnetwork.com/donate, specifically to those that send checks. We do have a P.O. box for you. So that is 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. Approaching the bottom of the hour, which is the start of the event at the Rose Garden. We'll be seeing the president here in just a few minutes, as we know that we are continuing our live coverage here on the network. A lot coming up, I believe, in the month of September. Including the president of China, Xi Jinping, is scheduled to visit 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on September 24th. And then on September 9th and 10th, of course, is that midterm national convention. And also, speaking of kind of getting into the election territory, here are the remaining primary election days leading up to the November 3rd election. Tomorrow's a big day. Oklahoma, primary runoffs statewide, including Republican gubernatorial runoff between Getner Drummond and Mike Mazzei, the Democratic U.S. Senate runoff, and other races where no candidate got a majority on the June 16 ballot. South Carolina, as you know, President Trump there talking about Darlene Graham, the senator, that special Republican primary runoff for the U.S. Senate seat. Of course, Darlene Graham against Ralph Norman, the representative, to replace the late Lindsey Graham on the November ballot. Georgia, the 13th Congressional District special election runoff between Democrats Marcy Scott and Everton Blair to fill the seat left vacant by the passing of Representative David Scott. The remaining state primaries outside of tomorrow, so it's basically tomorrow, August 25th, and then the following dates in September. The 1st, Massachusetts. The 8th is New Hampshire. The 9th, Rhode Island. The 15th, the state of Delaware. So that will wrap up all of the primaries leading up to and really teeing up that midterm convention, and then really teeing up everyone to get out the vote on November 3rd if you haven't voted early. But I'm not talking about mail-in ballots here. We definitely want to see if that Save America Act can turn into a law. We know what it's going to take to have that happen, including something that Darlene Graham spoke about on Friday, nuking the filibuster, something that the U.S. Senate, the Republicans need to do, because if they don't, as President Trump and others have said, the Democrats, if they get back into power, whether it's the House, Senate, or presidential, or the executive branch, they will gladly be nuking a filibuster, which means they don't need any other votes freely from the Republicans or whatever. It's just our simple majority, and they can push through anything they want. And let's not get it twisted. We know that this extreme left, those DSA types, the Democratic Socialists of America, whatever, and then the so-called Democrats that are so-called moderates, it's one and the same. I believe you can act like, oh, I'm a moderate Democrat, but deep down you're like, hey, let's push that thing, socialism, communism, we get the control, we get the power, we get all the things. That's totally anti the United States of America. I know you guys know that, but holy smokes. I mean, this midterm is huge. That's why I aired that clip from President Trump and Carolyn Levitt earlier talking about getting out the vote, basically, because it's a big one. And I know every election is big. It just seems like they keep getting bigger. For the future of our nation, we talked about that a lot on July 4th. What will give us that next 250 years of freedom? How will we keep that 250 years? There's a number of ways to do it. One of them is at the ballot box, and ideally with a Save America law, but it's not a law yet. It's just an act. And hopefully it's not just an act, if you know what I mean. Anyway, 2:31, Monday, August 24th. And when I say just an act, meaning why aren't we passing it? Like, let's pass this thing. All right, so anyway, President Trump participates in a Rose Garden event today. So that's happening any minute from now. I'm going to go through a few things. I was going to toss to a little bit of that Scott Bessent press conference, but it looks like we won't have enough time for that, as we will be going to the president here shortly. Because the White House, talking about the Census Bureau, releasing an analysis showing more than 24,000 non-citizens illegally voted in the 2020 election. And we're told from that building, the White House, the most famous building, I would think, or the strongest, I don't know, how many adjectives can you use there? How about the leader of the free world? That's where he works. It's just the beginning, according to the White House, because millions more voters' records will be analyzed in the coming weeks. That referring to that 24,000 confirmed non-citizens illegally voting in that 2020 election. Then you mix in all of those mail-in ballots that we saw during that election. And people are like, well, why do we bring up the 2020 election? Why did President Trump bring up that election so much during that speech a few weeks back that the mainstream media said, we're not going to air that? It's simple. It's because we don't want that to happen again. We don't want to have to hear make it too big to rig again, because we want it just to be free and fair. So how do we make it free and fair? American citizens vote in American elections, end of story. How about this, more specifically? United States citizens vote in United States elections, end of story. All right, let's go to a few sponsors as we stand by for the Commander-in-Chief. Kalshi.com/RSBN. And I've mentioned this a few times, but this is one of the top trending political topics on Kalshi. Who will be the next White House press secretary? People are saying maybe Alina Habba or Scott Jennings, or there's a long list of people that people are talking about. I just hope it's still Carolyn Levitt. I hope she just says, you know what, I'm staying to it, I'm sticking to it. But of course, family is a priority. God, family, country, freedom, right? Anyway, Kalshi.com/RSBN. You have the QR code, you have the app, you have the website. Check it all out. A great sponsor. Let's also go to another great sponsor, Cove Pure. You know, most of us know there's the chlorine in our tap water. Sometimes you can actually smell that stuff. It's awful. And then you just drink it anyway because you're like, well, hey, you know, they told us it's what keeps our water safe. So we're good, right? But what they don't tell you is what chlorine becomes after it's added to your water. And that's why it's so important to filter your water through Cove Pure, because chlorine itself isn't even the biggest problem. You know, we're told chlorine levels in your water, they're regulated, but what's not regulated are those chemicals that form when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter from places like rivers, soil, and plant matter. So when chlorine interacts with those particles, it creates these chemical byproducts. First of all, that sounds awful. I don't want any chemical byproducts in my drinking water from the tap, right? They're called THMs, and the government itself calls these THMs probable human carcinogens. they've been linked to disruption of your gut and also linked to awful things like cancer. Those pitcher filters that you see at the store, they won't fix this. They improve the taste of chlorine by masking it, but the THMs require something far more powerful, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. Their ClearWave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants, and it's not just chlorine or THMs, fluoride, PFAs, pharmaceuticals. Basically, if it isn't water, Cove Pure removes it. And the thing doesn't take up much room at all. You see it right there on the kitchen counter. You just plug it in. Don't need to call someone in to install it, anything like that. And with the tap of a button, hot, cold, or warm water instantly. And finally, the feedback on Cove Pure from our viewers has been incredible. People have actually told us they can literally taste the difference. Clean water is one of the best investments you can make for you and your family's health. And right now, they're giving RSBN viewers $250 off. It's an investment, but it's worth it. Again, covepure.com/RSBN. Drink pure, live pure, Cove Pure. And you have the QR code right there as it's 2:36 Eastern Time. Double checking some sources here. And we know that the president is going to be appearing very shortly. 2:36 Eastern Time on this Monday, August 24th. Hopefully you had a nice weekend. Maybe you checked out that Freedom 250 Grand Prix. If you're just joining us, Christopher Macchio, the presidential tenor, the singer that performs at a lot of events, sang that national anthem yesterday in D.C. He joined us on the broadcast during this broadcast. So after we hear from President Trump, after this event wraps up, if you'd like, maybe replay some of the interviews, or you can go check them out on Rumble, YouTube, X, Truth Social, all sorts of places. Of course, that Right Side Broadcasting Network has a presence, and it's great to see that. And especially within that whole framework of conservative media on the right side of history. Let's go to President Trump.
Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much. What a nice setting this is. This is something we spent a lot of time and effort bringing the White House back to a level that it should be at. For essentially 200 years, no work was done on it. It lived on its own merit, but we thought it was proper. If you look at the exterior, you'll see it's all been redone and in perfect shape. It's good for another 200 years, okay? That's the way I look at it. But very important. It's such a symbol, such a representative symbol of us, of what we stand for. And we're very proud to have done it. We're building outside. We're building a beautiful heliport, which has been asked for many, many years. A helicopter would land on wet grass, and it was bad and dangerous. And as you know, over there, we're building a military complex and a ballroom that will be second to none anywhere in the world. We have President Xi coming in 2 weeks, and I was over in China 2 months ago, and we saw the Great Hall of China. Well, now we're going to have a Great Hall, too, in the United States, so it's very important, very, very important. And I want to thank you all and welcome you to the White House as we celebrate back-to-school season in America. It's a big deal. We're delighted to be joined by many incredible parents, devoted teachers, exceptional educators, and star students from all across the nation. In fact, we have so many star students. I want to make offers for some of you to come and join us as soon as you get out of college, because we want stars. We want smart people. We like smart people. Some people say, oh, that's not nice to say. No, we want smart people. I want to thank our great Secretary of Education, a fantastic woman, by the way, my friend and all of that, but she's a fantastic woman. Nobody like her. Linda McMahon. Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen. Jim, thank you very much. Thank you. Look good. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Chairman of the House Education Committee, Tim Walberg. Thank you very much, Tim. Good job. And our press secretary, a mother of two, and well, she decided she loved her children more than she loved Donald Trump. I'm very upset about this. She has to go home and spend time with her children. That does happen on occasion with some people when they love their children, and she does. And Caroline, congratulations on your newborn, your perfect newborn. And she's done a fantastic job. She's been a great, great press secretary. Now, if I say you're the best of all time, I have Sarah sitting here, so I'll have, but let's put it this way, they were both great. Okay, is that all right? But from the very beginning of our country, Americans have understood that there's no job more important than teaching our children to become happy, healthy, proud, productive, and flourishing citizens. And unfortunately, in the 4 years I took office, and since I took office, our educational system itself was really, I mean, it was incredibly, before I got here, it was weaponized like everything else in our government. Everything was weaponized against the goals that we all stand for. And under the last administration, extreme ideologies such as critical race theory and transgender insanity were forced upon our children as young as 4 and 5 years old. Transgender didn't work. Students were taught that our heroes are villains. The FBI was used to target patriotic parents at school board meetings. And meanwhile, far too many government-run schools failed at the basics. And you just have to look at the charts. They were failing at a thing called education, with only 30% of the students proficient in reading and math. That was under the last administration. Under the Trump administration, we're systematically ending every single one of these radical left betrayals, and we're putting the parents back in charge. They're the ones that love our children. They're the ones that should be in charge. So immediately upon taking office, I signed an executive order to ban critical race theory and to ban transgender ideology from public schools. That was a big deal. We banned men from playing in women's sports. That was so easy to do. I don't get it. They're still arguing. They're still fighting. I saw a Democrat congressman the other day fighting an anchor that was, I would say, somewhere in the middle, but fighting an anchor on men playing in women's sports. And I said, I hope they keep doing that, because it's got to be impossible to win a race politically. Just crazy. I've never seen anything like it, but it continues out there, although we've had big court victories, as you know, and we've largely stopped it. Every public school in America is now on notice that if they tell a child that they're trapped in the wrong body, they are committing child abuse. And as we remove the far-left extremism from the classroom, we're taking historic action to ensure that every child in America has access to a first-class education. The United States spends more money on education than any other country in the world by double, and our results should be better than they are. I would look at lists where we're rated out of the 40 top nations, we're rated number 38, 39, and number 40 with all the money we spent. But Linda has changed that so rapidly and so drastically, and frankly, it's shocking how fast it's gone under her leadership. 1 year ago, as part of the great big beautiful bill, we passed the Education Freedom Tax Credit, the largest ever expansion of school choice, and we want, thank you. And we want every parent to have the power to send their child to a high-quality school that shares their values. It's so important. With us today are Caleb and Jocelyn Griffith and their beautiful family from Statesville, North Carolina, great place. They've 3 biological sons and 2 foster children. School choice and education freedom scholarships are going to give these kids more opportunity than ever before. And I'd like to ask Caleb and Jocelyn to come up and say a few words, please. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you for the honor of speaking today. I'm Pastor Caleb Griffith, and I'm joined by my 5 beautiful children. As President Trump said, 2 of them came to us through foster care, which is wonderful. But my children, one of them has autism, and one has developmental delays. And although they qualify for an IEP, because of the situation, they were unable to get them. So we've been unable to access the support and help they need to be successful. And we're blessed to be from a state that offers school choice, and it has helped part of our children's educational needs. I personally have seen the benefit of the Opportunity Scholarship for my family and the school my children attend, Cornerstone Christian Academy, who is up for running for the Yaz Prize. But it's thanks to great organizations like Parents for Educational Freedom, who have helped 105,000 families just like mine access the Opportunity Scholarship. And now, because of you, Mr. President, and because of you, Secretary McMahon, the Educational Freedom tax credits will give my children the access to the services they need to be successful in the most formational years of their lives. I want to tell you, we only get one chance to educate our children, and our children are the future of America. The Bible says to train up a child in the way that they should go, and that's to parents, and this allows parents to do that. So on behalf of my family and every family in America that will access this, thank you, President Trump, and God bless America.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. What a great job. Beautiful, beautiful family. Whoop. He made it. Well, as many of you know, no one cares more about America's children and foster youth than our great First Lady. She works hard at it and loves the children. Through her Fostering the Future initiative, Melania is helping transform the lives of children and young people aging out of the foster care system. And she's bringing hope and countless, and you have to see so many people, so many phone calls, so much work, but really bringing hope to countless numbers of families and children, and it's really something to see. It's so difficult. They go through foster care, and then all of a sudden they're released into the world. And, you know, many people have something to fall back on, but they don't. They can't go back to their parents for a little help or for staying overnight or for staying for years in some cases. And it's a very, very tough. So I want to thank Melania. She takes it so seriously. She's done such a great job. It's been so effective. Thank you. And as part of the great big beautiful bill, we have massively expanded 529 education saving accounts tremendously, doubling the annual withdrawal cap from K-12 expenses to $20,000 a year, and allowing families to save the education and money for education at the private or religious school of your choice. So that's something that never happened before. Nobody could even think about doing it. They can't believe it's happened now. And it's largely Linda and her representatives that have done this. And now, for the first time ever, families can also have their 529 accounts to support homeschool education. And then, thank you. And then one of the biggest things of all is what's happened with the Trump accounts, where kids will have money. I mean, every child is given at birth, newborn, $1,000. And you're going to watch that money grow. People like Michael and Susan Dell have put up a tremendous amount of money, over $6 billion. But we have many people. Some people have taken on an entire state, like the state of Indiana, by a very, very fantastic friend of mine, Brad. Thank you very much. And some very wealthy people and very wealthy companies are putting up tremendous amounts of money. The Trump accounts is being talked about all over the world. It's very good and very hot. Joining us today, Marina and Hubert from Jacksonville, Florida. They've been homeschooling their 3 children for 11 years and will benefit enormously from the new policy. The amount of money they're getting is something that they can very much use, and it's something that wouldn't have happened without the Trump administration. So Marina and Hubert, please come up and say a few words.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I have with me my beautiful family, my wife, Marina. We homeschool our 3 kids. We've been homeschooling for the last decade. My oldest son is going into 9th grade, my daughter going into 6th, and my youngest son is going into 3rd grade. Homeschooling is something that is very personal to me. Back in 1988, my parents made the decision to homeschool me. And so I was homeschooled from kindergarten all the way through the 12th grade. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to do the same for my family. Back in 1988, homeschooling wasn't popular. And there was not, I don't think, a president who was supporting us. At this time, to see your administration and all that you've done for homeschooling families not only means the world to me, but to also all the other homeschooling families that are out there. With the great big beautiful bill, the expansion of 529, oftentimes with homeschooling there were one income households because I'm working and my wife is schooling the kids. So being able to have the extra resources to provide them with their needs and also the option to support our children in the way that we see fit means the world. So I just want to thank you for everything that you've done.
Great parents. You have great parents.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful, beautiful family. Thank you. Well, I'm very proud to say that the Trump administration's achieved more for the benefit of Americans' children in less than 2 years than most administrations do in many years. 8 years, or frankly, you can take 2 or 3 administrations, put them together. They haven't been able to do what we did. After decades of racist policies and illegal quotas, we brought back the merit system into education. We're back on the merit system, which is what made our country great in the first place, so that our children will always be judged by the achievements and qualifications, not by the color of their skin or any other reason. We issued a guidance for protecting the right to prayer, and we now protect prayer in the public schools. They're totally protected. And last year I signed a historic executive order to begin the process of eliminating the Federal Department of Education, getting them out of Washington, and bringing education back to the states, the most important thing. And working with me on the Council on Physical Fitness, we've proudly brought back a wonderful tradition, the Presidential Fitness Test. I signed the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, which people loved, and the farmers love it because they know how good it is more than anybody. But the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, they weren't allowed to have whole milk, if you can believe it. They could have anything else, but they couldn't have great milk the way it is supposed to be, paving the way for more than 30 million children who drink whole milk in school. And we introduced the Real Food Pyramid and reformed the vaccine recommendations to protect America's youth. We're making America healthy again. We're strongly requesting, even telling people when you get your shots for your young child, and this has to do, we think, with preventing autism, that you go to the doctor for 5 small shots instead of 1 big, massive shot. You do it in 5 different shots. 5 different shots. Small, little shots where those beautiful little bodies can handle it. And I think you're going to see a very big difference in the rate of autism, which is like an epidemic, what's happened with autism. And this year, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding, we're also bringing back patriotic education for our youth through the Freedom 250 Mobile Museum. Students from over 3,750 schools are learning about the heroes who have made America the most exceptional nation in history. And we're teaching our children to love America, not to hate America. There's a lot of love going on right now. Our country's never done this well. We have billions and billions of different things happening, money pouring in at the rate of not even billions, trillions, over $19 trillion being invested in America right now. The last administration had less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We had 19, more than 19, 19.2 to be exact, and that's over a period of 12 months. We haven't even included the additional 5 months. So there's never been anything like that in history. No other country in the world has ever had investment like we're having right now being made, which is building factories, car plants, everything, all over, AI, all over the country, at levels that nobody's ever seen before. No other country has ever seen what's happened. It's a revolution, a positive revolution. So in everything we do, we're empowering our nation's parents, we're restoring high standards and the pursuit of excellence, and we're proving that the golden age of American education is just beginning. And I want to thank you all for being here. You're incredible people. I know so many of you in the audience, but one in particular who's just an outstanding person, an incredible woman, Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Please come up, Linda. Thank you.
We get it down to my speed, which is always the case when I come up to the microphone. We have to adjust it. Thank you, Mr. President, for assembling this incredible event this afternoon, because nothing is more important in our country than educating our students. Parents, educators, and students, happy back to school season. This school year marks a return to common sense in American education, and it's all thanks to the leadership of our President, President Trump. I remember when President Trump called me shortly after the Biden's administration 2024 Nations Report Card, or NAEP, as you've heard, scores were released, and he told me he was angry and he was also embarrassed by where these scores were. We spoke about what a travesty it is that Americans have invested $3 trillion in a federal Department of Education meant to improve student outcomes, and yet only 30% of our students can read or do math proficiently. This is why President Trump demanded a hard reset to our education system. And under his leadership, we are delivering it. We are taking very deliberate and thoughtful steps to return education to the states. This school year, American parents and students have so much to be excited about, because the Trump administration is steering education back to its rightful focus, serving students, so that they are prepared for successful futures. Our administration has cut billions in funding for radical DEI programs and redirected those dollars to teachers, classrooms, and results, supporting evidence-based literacy instruction, pouring record funding into charter schools, and energizing workforce training. Key decisions that once sat with bureaucrats here in Washington, D.C. are moving to where they belong, to the hands of educators, parents, and local leaders who know these children best. 6 states now hold the first ever returning education to the state waivers, freeing over $100 million from federal micromanagement. These waivers allow state leaders to direct federal dollars towards what makes the most sense for their students, and not what Washington thinks is best for those students. Additionally, a record 25 states are exercising EdFlex authority, which allows them to immediately free thousands of local school districts from mountains of red tape without first having to receive approval from the Department of Education. And under President Trump's leadership, we are restoring parents' sacred role as the first decision makers in their children's lives. Children belong to their parents, not the federal government. And through the Education Freedom Tax Credit, President Trump has delivered the largest national expansion of education freedom in history for over 50 million eligible children, giving parents unprecedented freedom to choose the path that is best for their child. So it's no surprise that over half of our nation's states, both red and blue, have raced to this historic choice option, benefiting families whether their child attends public or private school. Parents can also rest assured that wherever their child goes to school, this administration is vigorously protecting their right to know what's happening inside those walls. After the Biden administration allowed schools to secretly transition students without parents' knowledge, President Trump is defending parental rights like never before. And at his direction, we are working hand in hand with the Department of Justice to ensure no school district ever has more power over a child than their own parents. Thank you. We've exposed states like California for some of the most widespread offenses and put schools on notice. If they subject children to radical experiments and sideline parents, they will lose their federal funding. Never before have parental rights been enforced at this scale, and parents are back in the driver's seats where they rightfully belong. Across every facet of education, these reforms are truly driving the progress that many promised, but only President Trump has delivered. We are breaking the grip of the education monopoly in D.C. and putting the future of our children back into the hands of those who know them, love them, and are best positioned to help them reach their God-given potential. We will remember this as a turning point in our country, where thanks to President Trump's leadership, American education began to reclaim its place as the very best in the world. Thank you all, and have a great and wonderful school year.
Great job, honey.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I don't know if anybody wants to do this, but I'm going to be walking down here in about 2 minutes to meet with the people that are building the heliport. And you'll see right alongside of it the great structure that's rising right next to the White House, and that's going to be the ballroom/military complex. It's incredible. Now, if anybody would like to walk with me, I don't know if Linda's going to have any big events happening now. I don't think so. But if you'd like to follow me, especially with the kids could see construction. I love the sound of construction. When I hear all that banging out there, some people say, oh, that's too bad. And I say, I love it. You know, so if anybody would like to follow me, it'll be a large group, but it's a large pad. And you'll be able to see some very hard-working people. They're working hard and they're making a lot of money and they're doing something great for America. And they've needed a heliport for many years here, and we're getting it all done. We're doing all the things that should have been done for years. So if you want to follow me with the children, I think it'll be very interesting. You'll bring your nice family, okay? Follow me. We'll come up here and we'll walk down. Good. Thank you.
Quite the event, quite the opportunity for everybody there just to kind of walk with the president down to the South Lawn there as President Trump held that back-to-school event highlighting various accomplishments for the American family at the White House today, where it's 83 degrees, low humidity today in the nation's capital. This live stream brought to you by some great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. You know, we've talked about All Family Pharmacy before, and there's a reason we keep returning to them because, in my opinion, they're one of the best pharmacies in the country. Because it's simple. They believe Americans should have more freedom, more choice when it comes to their health care. They stand for medical freedom and work to make trusted medications easier to access without all of the unnecessary runaround. So when life throws you a curveball and your health suddenly becomes the priority, you want a pharmacy that's ready to help. From connecting you with licensed medical providers when appropriate to fast shipping options, knowledgeable support when you have questions, All Family Pharmacy is there when you need them. They have a full catalog of more than 400 medications from everyday essentials to antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, GLP-1 options, peptides, all the medications you may want to have on hand. It's really the kind of company you hope you never need in an emergency, but you're glad it's there if you do. Check them out and find the medications you may need for your family. Just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And at checkout, just use the RSBN 10 promo code. You get that 10% off. You can also give them a call if you have any questions at that number. Let's see if I see it on the screen. I don't see it, so I'll share it with you. 561-717-6794. Again, 561-717-6794. All Family Pharmacy, great sponsor. Let's go to one more here, Birch Gold Group. Specifically, we're still a few months out, but the midterms are fast approaching. And make no mistake, if the House flips, it's a big deal for our economy. And that uncertainty is really one of the reasons to diversify with gold from our friends at Birch Gold Group. In the 3 months leading up to the 2024 presidential election, the spot price of gold, it jumped 12%, all because it's a hedge against uncertainty. So if you don't own gold, I would suggest talking with Birch Gold. They have all of these information kits, and they'll also help you learn how to get your goals attained and how precious metals can really fit into your savings. They can even help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA into gold with no additional money out of pocket. So to get everything started, just text Trump to that number, 989898. Get a free info kit and get some solid information because the midterms will be here before you know it. Text Trump to 989898. Two great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And programming note, tonight at 6 o'clock, make sure to check out Toria Vision, where host Toria Brooke interviews various special guests. Again, that's tonight at 6 p.m. right here on RSBN. Now, let's go to a portion of the Treasury Department's press conference with Secretary Scott Bessent. Check it out.
Good afternoon. Today, at President Trump's direction, the United States Treasury has begun Operation Economic Outcast, an unprecedented campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran and its enablers. In the Second World War, D-Day marked the historic beginning of a campaign with our allies to target and drive the enemy from its positions, including those in third countries. Today, in that same spirit, we are launching an economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe. Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Iran's fanatics devote themselves to death to America and seek nuclear weapons to do just that. They have murdered and maimed more of our citizens and service members than any other terrorist regime on earth. And they have been at war against America, their neighbors in the Gulf, and much of the world for 47 years. President Trump has taken action that his predecessors have long deferred. And under his leadership, America is no longer managing the Iranian threat. We are ending it. Our great armed forces have laid the groundwork for achieving the president's objective of preventing Iran from ever obtaining nuclear weapons. They have shown America's resolve to finally end this threat. And the strength of America's economy under President Trump allows us to wage this sustained financial operation alongside the might of our military. Iran now faces a very clear choice with only two paths before them: complete global isolation and a subsistence economy, or a path back to normalcy with an opportunity to rejoin the global economy. Today, we are launching Operation Economic Outcast to foreclose every other option available to the Iranian regime. Treasury has mapped every node, every facilitator, and every network that Iran has used to smuggle oil and evade sanctions. Beginning today, the actions of Treasury and other agencies will tighten the noose and block every potential source of revenue that funds the IRGC and the evil Iranian regime. We are enforcing a zero leakage approach. There will be no minimal breathing space for the regime to rebuild its capacity to inflict terror against America and the world. The final refuge of this regime is the mistaken conclusion of nations that still finance the Iranian threat in the hopes of evading it. It is no longer acceptable to operate in the gray spaces of this conflict. Countries cannot claim they are blind to enabling this activity. Iran's enablers purchase, transport its petroleum. They facilitate the flow of its finances through exchange houses and free trade zones. They welcome Iran's flights and maintain registries on its behalf. They turn a blind eye to seaborne fuel transfers and overland transits. They condone illicit use of their banks, all the while concealing the extent of their complicity. The president is making phone calls to world leaders with specific requests to cease their interactions with the regime. We are already seeing results. Over the weekend, comments from Iranian leadership clearly acknowledged the effect of this campaign, and nations that facilitate any interactions with the regime should quickly heed our message. Those who stand with the United States will reap the rewards of our partnership. Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation of a withering regime. Teams from Treasury, State, and the U.S. military are now meeting with their global counterparts to tell them that the United States expects action. Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities. For example, every branch of Bank Melay must be shuttered and dark. And let me be clear, any entity that facilitates money laundering on behalf of Iran will be removed from the US dollar system. The clock just started ticking. The new sectoral sanctions determinations issued today target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines that it exploits in other countries: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. These measures broaden secondary sanctions risk for anyone foolish enough to continue conducting business with this regime, and will accelerate the speed with which we pursue them. As I speak, Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is also sanctioning over 60 entities, individuals, and vessels around the world that enable the Iranian regime to procure illicit nuclear and missile technology, conduct cyber operations, and generate oil revenue. This is a sustained campaign to collapse every last option for Iran. Let there be no ambiguity as to the position of the United States. An economic engagement of any kind with this murderous regime will expose those responsible to the full reach of American power. For decades, this regime has drawn strength from a calculus that regards Iranian retaliation as certain and American enforcement as negotiable. Under President Trump, that era is over. To the ordinary soldiers supporting this regime, as more and more of your paychecks stop or are supposedly just delayed, ask whether your commanders are leading your country to triumph or to ruin. And recall that the Berlin Wall fell when ordinary soldiers decided not to shoot at their own people. And to those who enable Tehran, do not discount the cost of testing Washington's resolve. No nation should expect to enjoy the rewards of our system while helping those who seek to destroy it. It is now a time for world leaders to make a decision between prosperity and isolation, peace and terror, America and Iran. The campaign we begin today will gather force with every day that follows, and it will not end until this regime stands alone. With that, I welcome your questions.
So that was earlier today. If you'd like to catch the rest of that Treasury Department's press conference, you can watch it on any RSBN platform. Of course, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, speaking about the economic D-Day for Iran. President Trump referring to that on Truth Social a few times in the past weeks as well. This live stream broadcast brought to you by mypillow.com/RSBN. Some great products for a good price. Great price, actually. There's so many of them on there. It's hard to even list them all because there's so many products on mypillow.com, including the My Premium pillows, the Giza Dream Sheets, the mattress toppers. There's dog beds. There's all sorts of stuff there. mypillow.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Again, rsbnetwork.com/donate. For all of us here at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again later.